let's just make this a quick chat. Just got some cold lemon myrtle tea here, very refreshing. Just a quick chat because I don't really have much to say. I don't have anything new to add. I haven't really said much about this case, but I thought let's just run a few scenarios that are out there already by you and see what you guys think of them. You know, what do you think about each of the scenarios? So it's just some things in my opinion, if I even give it. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the deaths of Abigail Williams and Libby German 4 years ago in Delphi on the Monon High Bridge Trail. So where do we start? Well, we start with the person on the bridge. What do you think about all the facial, work being done by people online, where they're coming up with usually one or two people, particular real people that they think are the killer. Well, that they think are the person on the bridge. They like to make him look like Ron Logan. They might like to make him look like flannel shirt guy, Mr. McCain. What do you think about that? Do you think that you can take 5 pixels and make a clear 100 pixel picture of someone? I don't. What I think about bridge guy, the person on the bridge, is that the person or persons who would recognize this person if they saw that imagery, all they need to see is that imagery. They don't need a close-up of his face. They don't need to see any of these features whatsoever. Let's face it, we recognize people that we see walking around, whether we see them from behind, the side, above, below. We just know it's them. And this person, even though it's clothing that maybe they don't normally wear, this clothing isn't disguising their physicality, their emotion, their vibe so much that a person who knows this person on the bridge couldn't recognize them. So I think as long as the right people are going to see this footage, we don't need all this bullshit about, pork chops, moustaches, cigarette smoke, whatever, right? Yes, it might be useful to be able to identify a hat, a jacket. Is that a hand? Is this a gun? Is this a bum bag? Is this a shirt? I won't tell you what I think about all those things just at the moment, but there's so many different opinions on what they are. Can any one person be really clear about it? It's a bit tricky, and I think, we just need to look at that as a whole, get that, I think the persons who can recognize who it is will be able to know without the facial stuff. And I don't think you're ever going to get a clear picture because the initial footage, the quality of it, we haven't been given high resolution imagery to work with. You just can't, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, so to speak, okay? You can just see the sow's ear. And that's what we've got with regards to the amazing, incredible footage that one of the girls got, okay? It's incredible that they did this, which is kind of leaving the incredulousness, isn't it, with regards to, well, why the fuck hasn't someone been arrested? So what do you think about what bridge person is wearing? Are they wearing something on purpose to look like Ron Logan? Is it because they just hate Ron Logan? Is it because they think it was an easy patsy and in a way it worked? Like they got him investigated and sent off to prison. What do you think about Ron Logan's very hefty prison sentence at the end of his life? Were police hoping that they could leverage something out of Ron Logan because they do suspect that he does know something, whether he realizes it or not? I don't know. Those of you that say that Ron Logan is the bridge person, you are mistaken and you must stop. Ron Logan lied because he was breaking the law, breaking his probation. He was out drinking and driving. He's an alcoholic. He deserves a bit more compassion for that. I don't know if he's a good person or not. He could be a little bit of a scumbag for all I know. I don't know. He's just a guy that has had, at the end of his life, he's had to go through years in prison and have his life destroyed and all this scrutiny, and I really think he does want this crime solved. The girls were found on his land across Deer Creek from the Monon Bridge Trail, and again, was this just like his costume being copied? Was it no mistake that they were on his land? Is it just a quinky dink that the bridge guy was wearing clothing that looks like Ron Logan's clothing? The blue jacket, the type of hat. And do you really think Ron Logan, he's obviously no criminal mastermind, right? He can't lie very well, and he turns up and talks to reporters wearing his murder costume, does he? Is that what you think? Is that what you think, really? Okay, just drop it with the Ron. Look, he may know without even knowing. He may inadvertently know something. I don't know. Maybe he's got his own ideas about it. I think that if he did, he would have told the police and he wouldn't have been in jail for so long. I truly believe that. So do you know what? This old man's life has been ruined enough. This is a man that cares about the land. He probably values what he managed to keep there for so many decades, 4 decades. Now, I think he might be a man hiding a secret, maybe a secret penchant. I don't want to ruin his character. I've got no idea what might be true. It's just some intuition that I have. But, he's a man that loves his land. He's held on to it for decades. He has horses. To have horses, you've got a type of sensitivity. And maybe the horses and working with horses was something that kept Garrett Kurtz sane and out of trouble for a while. And then maybe not having vocation in life and maybe meeting the wrong persons. Yeah, Garrett's gotten into the most demonic, evil drug I believe exists on this planet. Crystal meth, pee, shaboo, whatever you want to call it. Emergency rooms in hospitals are chock-a-block with people going off their nut on crystal meth. It's either a drug that, some people using it, they get heavily involved in certain sex cultures, and they make themselves open to, they endanger their health and their lives by the type of stuff they get into when they're on meth. It's a particular type of lifestyle, excuse me, partly quite enmeshed with gay culture, certain gay culture. And then there's the other side of it too, which is the violence, the ruining of lives, of families, sons beating their mothers, people committing violent crimes, people committing suicide, harming themselves, grievous bodily harm to others, all sorts of things. This is a wicked, wicked drug. And when there's a small town that maybe, there's packers there, right? But is there not enough employment and not enough extracurricular sort of activity in the community for young people in their 20s, to keep them occupied, to keep them on the straight and narrow? Towns, when they don't have enough sporting facilities and after hours things for teenagers and, other young people to do, these towns suffer. They have negative effect. Crime, drug, abuse, suicide, mental health issues, all sorts. Okay, that's what they run the risk of. This is what the statistics show us. But Delphi, then, it seems to have a lot of youth group active in the community. Different churches have a lot of youth groups, camps, weekly things, etc. Now, is there a predator there within the midst that knew Abby and Libby? I mean, certainly someone involved there has said, yeah, he'd just seen Abby a few days before. Certainly, whether there's any sort of reciprocal relationship or not, there's a big, wide open option, isn't there, for abuse of these girls through the groups, coercion into sexual activity, or just plain straight rape. And it is possible, I guess, that the girls, one of them was pregnant, and the killing is involved with that. So, I mean, this has been talked about a lot over the years, and it's certainly an option. And yes, we can all name several people that we think look like those sketches or the person on the bridge, the way they move, flat-footedly, I believe. There's a lot about them. I think the person has a sharp body frame, a sharp-boned skeleton with soft flesh. So what you might call a soft dramatic person, or, it's just, if you study body typing, that's what I see. I see these dramatic lines, these sharp lines, maybe even the wider hips. This is a dramatic person. The narrower shoulders, but it's flesh on top and the way the flesh falls. Because you've got, anyway. So, who knows? That's what I see. Obviously, with the drug angle, there's several ways people are coming at it, isn't there? So there's the scumbag angle of, small-time pettiness and, maybe someone off their heads. The revenge killing aspect, there's two sort of types, isn't there? There's someone looked at another girl, and we know that someone is revengeful about these sorts of things. So was it just a repeat of a crime someone's already in prison for? Pretty sure the cops would be all over that. And all people need to do in law enforcement for, to narrow down this type of criminal is interview, and then match up and go, okay, well, this person was told this, and this person was told this. That they could easily investigate that sort of crime. Let's not forget that Garrett Kurtz took a lie detector test or polygraph. This is a tool just used by law enforcement, and yes, they could have been purposefully making it difficult for him to answer if they were rushing the questions, etc. And indeed, it was something that didn't work out for Garrett, wasn't it? But why would he do it? Why? He would have said no to that lie detector. Did he think, because he still had this meth head mind, madness, did he think that, look, I'm superhuman, I'm going to beat this? Because, meth does do things to the way you think, obviously. And I guess that's possible, but I think at the time of taking that polygraph, he wouldn't have been, I don't think he would have been so keen and so confident, frankly. Was it a bigger drug issue, this kingpin idea, or, the fact that, was it because someone rolled on someone dobbed and it's revenge? Well, again, easily pursued by law enforcement, followed up, solved, charged, convicted. Honestly, Honestly, if you think they haven't thought about this, if they think they wouldn't know where to start with their queries, and if you think they wouldn't follow that through, I mean, I personally, look, I'm not a gene, I don't know, right? I don't know all the ins and outs of this case. I don't know how politics work either, but I just feel like if it was all these obvious bloody things like that, there are so many avenues of investigation for police in so many ways that they can lock timelines in and see the lies so easily. I mean, they must have an immense amount of data, right? And don't forget that adding to what they know that you don't, they do also know everything that you do, which is to say that they've seen open secrets, interviews, etc., etc., etc. So Packers is interesting because there you've got people that possibly have become numb from killing. It's an outlet for them. They need more. They want to see what it's like to kill a human being. It could just be plain and simple that type of predator, as opposed to the type of predator who has sexually abused these girls, or one of them, and wants to cover their crime. Yes, it could be a predator that is simply a hunter who wants the kill. It's a thrill kill. And fuck, I mean, doesn't it just seem to have the hallmarks of that? It really does, doesn't it? But it's up to you. I want to know what you think. What do you think? Does it? But certainly it could just be this cold-blooded murder. You've got the fact that there are 2 girls, and let's not forget, even though this is rare, this does happen. We've got the Gainesville Ripper, who committed multiple murders in Louisiana and then moved to Gainesville, and 2 different occasions he killed 2 girls and then a girl and a guy. This quite strapping young man, Manny, and another girl. So some spree killers or killers will not be put off by 2 people. They know they can handle it. The Gainesville Ripper knew that he could manage. He had the element of surprise. He could overpower, and he was vicious, and he enjoyed it. So it could be a killer like that. So you've got political, you've got criminal, both, kind of related, aren't they? You've got, you do have random thrill kill. You've got, what about someone in the community that has an obsession? What about someone that maybe was doing a recreational activity, and that Monday would have been a perfect opportunity to think, the people that I'm interested in, or the person, are likely to be somewhere. So, this is where True Crime Jesus' videos come in, when you've got the geocaching theory of his, right? So the geocaching theory is where there is a particular person who resembles one of the sketches, and he stopped his geocaching activity directly after the murders of Abby and Liberty, and changed his behavior, and his behavior was quite bizarre afterwards, things that he would say and do, and 3 years later started sort of reposting again, but he just stopped. And he had been at sites where Kelsey German had been on several occasions, right on her trail. Was he after Kelsey? Was he after anybody? Was he after Abby and Liberty? In my opinion, I'm not even saying this is in my opinion, I'm just talking about things that are alleged out there, you know, things that many, many people are talking about and querying. Again, though, the police will be aware of this person. Now, maybe because they're so aware of technology and tracking and things like that, maybe they have been so careful as to not have anything at all to track them to the site. And, you know, police are just waiting for someone to state, look, he lied to me because he said that he was at lunch with someone or that he was asleep, and I know that he wasn't, whatever it is, right? It does get tricky when someone might be a loner, when they haven't got a family around them, that there's, you know, not as many people around that can, you know, pin together this lie for police, right? Because I think this is what maybe they're waiting for. If it is someone in the community, they're waiting for that lie to be revealed. But if they have any, you know, they have got all these, you know, they must have there could be 600 people on their radar, right? In Gainesville, there were, you know, 700 people, persons of interest. So make no mistake, there are hundreds of people on the radar of law enforcement to do with these Delphi murders, and they just need to be dogged in their investigations. I feel like maybe they need to go back, revisit something that they didn't realize was significant or that they were lax on accidentally. You know, and mistakes happen as well. We need to realize mistakes happen in investigations. Clues aren't followed up. Things aren't heard the way that they should be heard or something, you know. I hope that they've got the manpower to revisit everything from the start. I think that's sometimes a way to, ensure they get their person. Do you think it was a woman and not a man? Do you think it's a very old person or a very young person instead of this kind of middle-aged person? What do you think? You know, what I just can't see, you know, if there is this, if it was this revenge killing of any type, I think the police would know what it's related to and who, and I think they could just pursue it and they would just get justice. They would get that person or persons into jail. I really do. Why? Because this is a heinous, disgusting crime that is destroying a community. It's got the world's attention, and why would you just leave what could be more important than getting the killers of these two young girls behind bars? You know, now maybe that's where the shock comes in, right? Because it is this public figure. It is a person that is in a position of trust or power, probably trust. Maybe that's where the shock is. So maybe they think that this is why it's going to be difficult to get a conviction, because if they don't quite have the evidence they need, if this person denies it, people are going to really question it, because this person is never going to, confess maybe. But, you know, let's just say, if Libby or Abby was pregnant, they would have a DNA from the fetus. And if they had a suspect, they can easily get DNA from that person and arrest the person who was the father. And I think that would have happened if it's someone in the community. I would hope that they are undercover, or that they are going around picking up coffee cups, picking up discarded water bottles, you know, of all the youth group leaders, the pastors, the whatever, you know, because the girls were involved in those things. I think they should have already done that to the coaches of the soccer. Was it, I know they were great sporting, is it rugby or, oh, sorry girls. They're both playing team sport. They're extremely talented girls. These girls were sporty. They were creative. They were just fun, regular girls, but they had humor. They had a great love for each other. They were not mean girls, you know. They were just fresh, open, fun girls from what we know, right? So, sports coaches, any adult related at all, parents that are always there at the games, volunteer coaches, paid coaches, teachers who coach. I mean, you would think that DNA, if there is a suspect, this is the FBI that are involved, right? How do they not know how to take a coffee cup out of a restaurant or pick something out of a bin and get DNA? Something from their vehicle, hair, a piece of hair off their seat. I don't know, something to find out if DNA matches a fetus. So does the fact that there's no arrest after 4 years mean that, look, there is no fetus? Well, highly likely. But does it mean that there's no abuse if there was no pregnancy? No, I think abuse of these girls, yeah, it is likely. Catfishing, yes, it is likely. What do you think? I might wrap this up. This was really for no reason at all. I just wanted to talk about all the different options that are out there. There are so many. The stranger through town. I mean, when you look at someone that's taking a particular route to Packers, if they're coming from the north of town, they go past the school. They go past the school where the sign was outside saying there's no school today. So if they've come in to town for an early shift at the Packers plant, the abattoir, and past the school, they've seen the sign, they're also going past Monon High Trail, easy. Finish the shift. You've got someone that might be working a shift from 5 to 12 or 6 to 1, something like that. They just finish their shift and they stop at the trail. So shift worker, anyone that's coming through town on their way to Packers. I'm pretty sure that those schools, the state schools, are right on that route. Excuse me. So, could be someone that lives on those northwest or, north outskirts of town, of the city. It could be anybody. People travel quite a lot. It's nothing to commute, an hour to work, So, an hour and a half either way to get to a job like that. But, maybe people do try and come in and live nearby, but they could be living in surrounding areas or towns, and it gives you a big radius, if it is someone to do with Packers that's working on the floor there, on the killing room floor, or elsewhere. And if they're a trucker, they could live anywhere. But, there would be routes that are used. And, were there deliveries on that day? What days do trucks arrive? All day, every day, I imagine, because do you know how many millions of animals are being killed there? It's a lot, and there's a lot of trucks. A lot. That is a logistical nightmare, tracing all the people that work for Packers and who deliver for Packers and trying to follow up who left. I've no doubt there were illegals there, people whose paperwork might not quite match up, because some jobs, there are people willing to do some work that, and others won't, and maybe some sort of allowances need to be made. Now you would think, gee, would big companies risk this? But there's ways and means, isn't there? And what are the unions doing? Are the unions getting in the way of investigations somehow? I don't know. Anyway, there's so many options still, and I think, plenty of people have theories and they're pretty convinced of. But to me, it seems like an intelligent argument for the for and against of every single theory could be made. I think we need to really pare things back, just pare it back, step back, Just look at the person from that distance, just what you see, their vibe. That's what someone's going to recognize, and stop making assumptions. I mean, there are assumptions that might be a bloody good call, and that might be, well, was the person in the search party? If this person is local, it's highly likely. So then that, though, gives police all the leads that they need, doesn't it? Because they can investigate, they can interview. I mean, I would love to know, and trace people involved with all the people there. I mean, but do you see the legwork, how long it might take just to solve the crime this way? I'm not convinced it's going to be a DNA crime, especially if there's not a fetus, for example. If it was a DNA crime and it's someone in jail, well, would they let other cases interfere? What could be more important than, well, let's actually forget the other charges they're up against. They are going down for the murders of Libby German and Abigail Williams, right? I mean, this just doesn't make sense, right? If they've got DNA and the person's in jail. So yes, maybe it's someone that these people know. And they don't want to be a rat, but they would know that that person is going away forever. So yeah, they'd cut a deal. I don't think any alliance is going to stop someone from cutting a deal in this instance, right? It's a double brutal murder. So I guess that does bring back to, well, there's power, there's politics, there's money or something, right? But again, there's so many different law enforcement officers involved and everything. What do you think about the law enforcement officer who did commit suicide a year later? Is that anything to do with this case at all, or no? I just hope we can be guaranteed that the police know so much more than we ever will until anything happens. I think we need to remember that sometimes cases just take years. They just do. Even if the police know who it is, though, so they think they can keep an eye on the person, I think if they know who it is, the community isn't safe, right? As long as this person is out there, it doesn't matter if people think, oh, but they just committed it for this reason, so there's no other reason for them to commit another crime. No, well, if this crime was committed for silencing, well, they'll do it again and again and again. That doesn't make sense to me, because this person is extremely dangerous. The police would recognize this. They just need this person off the streets, and it would be a huge victory and a boost for morale. And, people in Delphi must be terrified to this day. Wasn't it interesting, they'll be watching footage. They should be watching footage of the father-daughter balls that were going on in Delphi very soon afterwards. What a difficult time that must have been for some people. And it would be interesting to watch, wouldn't it? I've certainly watched some of them. And, there's ministries that have YouTube channels. One of them, this is all, I'm not saying anything in particular, okay? All right, don't come for me, anyone. But, there's a group that started a YouTube channel in February 2015, and there's plenty of footage on there. And there's all sorts of things that we can watch, right? And it is all very interesting. But no matter who this person was and why they done it, even just thinking, okay, well, it was a specific crime for a specific reason, they just needed to shut something up so that no one else is in danger. Bullshit. Everyone is in danger. They could do it again for whatever reason, or they could want to silence another person who has suspicions. Things like this, they don't just stop. you know. And then what if something, yeah, no, there is danger, okay? So the police would need to be working very hard against that person. And 4 years, well, I would think they would have had it. So I don't know. I think I don't know. So many suspects. Surely they are investigating every single one of the ones that we can come up with and more. I mean, there's plenty of murders where, you know, the son of a sheriff and things like this are involved, and the investigation goes nowhere. You know, the young girl that was stalked on her bicycle when she was riding her bicycle. We pretty much know it's the sheriff's son, right? Yeah. But do you think it's something like that in this case? Is it possible that that is it in this case? I don't know. Was it opportunistic? Was it premeditated and targeted? I mean, it certainly is vicious. It certainly takes a very particular type of person. And if that person has people in their life, they probably know who it is. We just need to get them to see the film. I think there should be a huge, my phone's going to run out of time, there should be a huge release, nationwide release of that footage on every single news channel. It should go on. You know, we have the national shows, Crime Stoppers and things. It needs to go on a show like that in America and being shown on every network, close to the county and as far away as possible. Don't you think? Someone will know that person and come forward as long as they